Well, Rob, on the verge of the Newcastle Falcons game for a second time this season, the Falcons coming to Sandy Park. Your thoughts ahead of it all?
Just that we're really looking forward to it. We've picked a slightly freshened up squad who have trained fantastically well this week, look real eager, real keen, and I think they're all aware that we've got some fantastic games coming up. Not just in the Amlin but in the Premiership, and I think if I was a player playing here at the minute, I'd want to be part of that. And I think that's a real focus for us at the minute. So I say we look fresh, we look fit this week, and we looked enthusiastic, and our aim's obviously about making the game about us this weekend, as you have to do, because you can never really tell what side gets put out in the Amlin by the other team. So it's going to be about us, but I think our focus has been really good, and I think we're a little bit smarting from losing at Wasps, and I think that's good for us as well. So I'm looking forward to a really good game of rugby this weekend.
All season you've said you wanted the side to be competitive on every front, and this is obviously a new competition and a new challenge. Looking forward to it, obviously.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we'll be very competitive on Saturday, and with the team that we're going to select, I'll be very disappointed if we lose. At home, the boys are very aware we've got to play in a way that gets our supporters behind us. We've managed to do that all season, and I'm fully expecting us to do that again this weekend. So, I'll be very disappointed if we don't get out there and play with fantastic energy and really force ourselves on the game.
The good thing is you know how to beat Newcastle. You've done it once this year, but I'd imagine they'll be smarting. They'll want to come down and get a bit of revenge. Is that something you spoke about this week?
No, we haven't spoken about the other fixtures. I think something we've done quite well is just go from week to week and concentrate on the fixture ahead of us. That's what we've done this week. It feels like a long time ago now, the Newcastle Premiership game, which in rugby terms it is. They've had some decent results. Beating Gloucester at home is a very good result. So we've prepared very well, very thoroughly. Giving them all the respect they deserve. And we know we're going to have to play well. But with the energy we've got around the camp at the minute, I think we will play well. And playing at Sandy Park when Exeter playing well is a tough place, and that's what we've got to make happen this week.
The boys have been in really good form. You had 5 unbeaten games on the spin, and then obviously a little blip there at London Wasps. But the feeling is that there's a little bit of hurt there, and you want to learn from the mistakes perhaps of last week.
I think we're disappointed, and I think we're disappointed not because we lost the game of rugby. You lose games of rugby all the time. In the Premiership, I think last season over half the league lost more than half they get. Whatever, you do lose games. I think what disappointed us was we felt we didn't play as well as we can. Little areas of our game let us down, and that despite a large amount of territory in possession in the second half, we didn't do quite enough to force at least a losing bonus point, or even put a bit more pressure on Wasps for the win. So that's what disappoints us a bit, and I think that's just given us a little bit of incentive and a little bit of motive to maybe push on over these next 3 or 4 weeks and really look to improve some areas of our game which kind of let us down a little bit at the weekend.
Does it show the sort of strides the club have made though, that you're going to perennial champions like Wasps and saying we haven't got nothing from the game and you're really disappointed?
Yeah, and I think great credit to the players. It shows how hard they've been prepared to work. We worked massively hard again against Wasps. That always gives you a toehold in the game. But having said that, we still coughed up a couple of cheap penalties. We coughed up the ball cheaply a couple of times, one of which led directly to a try, and that really hurt us. And those are things we've got to learn from and make sure we don't go again.
Looking to Newcastle this weekend, though, they obviously have threats, and you would have analysed that. Where do you see the threat coming from them? I
mean, obviously, depending on what side they pick, that they can threaten pretty much all over the park. Jimmy Gopeth obviously is a first-class kicker and controls things very well, plays territory well, controls his back line well. Their forwards are pretty lively. They're pretty much like any other good Premiership side. Any one of their players can hurt you at any times. But as I said, because of the Amlin Shield and the way it's happened and way selection can change, I think you've really got to focus on yourselves. So we've just focused on what we want to bring to the game, which is obviously lots of energy, lots of passion, lots of pride about what we're trying to do, and lots of good hard running rugby. I think that kind of suits us, and that's what we'll look to do this weekend. In
other cup competitions this year, you've used the opportunity to run the squad, and certainly the London Wasps game in particular it showed that you've got a squad here of 40 players that can make that step up. Obviously you're looking for the same this weekend?
Very similar. I mean, obviously the Amlin's slightly different in that you have to enter a squad of 38 players very early in the season, so that rules out quite a few of our guys who joined us late in the season, and obviously rules out a couple of fringe players who didn't make that squad. So there'll be probably less changes than we used in the LV, but it's still a very strong side, and it still contains like a number of first team regulars, some who need a bit more game time, some who are still really pressing their claim for a regular starting place, and the other guys are guys we feel are the most on form of the rest of the squad, who deserve the best opportunity to push themselves forward over the next couple of weeks. So it's a very competitive squad. with a lot of individuals with a lot to prove. You know, and I kind of like to say to the players that they pick a side on a Saturday, so they've got a chance on Saturday to select themselves for the following week.
Pleasing news as well is that some of the players that have been out with injuries are nearing returns, and that must be good for you. It will add to the selection.
Yeah, we're actually coming stronger actually over a period of time. We've got a few boys with bumps and bruises, but we didn't pick up any major injuries at Wasps. Steno's nearly there, James Phillips is nearly there, Clark is obviously well into his rehab now, so as long as we don't pick up more injuries, we're actually coming a little bit thicker in depth, which is nice at this time of year, because the intensity of the Premiership is really starting to crank up a notch or two.